Welcome, everybody, to the Old Gold Show. With you, as always, I am your host, co-manager over at Hammer and Rails, Andrew Ledman.
And I am absolutely Casey Bartley of Boiler Upload Rivals Network.
And we're recording today to talk about Purdue's overwhelming victory over the Indiana Hoosiers in Assembly Hall. Casey is dancing in celebration. Final score 87-66. Just an absolutely dominant performance by the Purdue Boilermakers. Casey, you were in attendance as we talked about last time. Before we get into the game, what was the atmosphere like, as the game began versus as things sort of started to get out of hand for the Hoosiers?
Well, there were less fans there at the end of the game than
Yes,
at the
that's
beginning.
true. Yeah.
You
As
know,
Fletcher Lawyer said in his post-game conference comments.
he is such a smack talker, and I'm here for it. I love it so much. Yeah, it was. I kind of knew IU was done when I'm walking around there early, and you can see on every channel their amount of like smack talk with what they were prepared for was a 3-second violation.
Right, the signs.
So premeditating whining to the officials,
Yeah.
that's not the mindset to get into if you're going to knock off the number 2 team in the country.
No. Yeah. If your mindset is the only way we can win this is to remind officials there's a 3-second call, I think you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for your hope there.
Yeah. It was there was a lot of cold, lonely hearts going home in Bloomington last night.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we talked about in the last episode, Bloomington generally a very angry crowd, especially against Purdue. Did you get that same vibe yesterday, or was it a little bit different?
It was a little less angry, a little more sad and desperate. I would say the Indiana fan base has, like, I'm not gonna give them credit for self-awareness because that's definitely not what the Hoosiers
No, that's not their strong
fandom is
suit.
here for.
No.
But I think they understand that there's this dark little pang inside their chest right now, and it's shaped like Mike Woodson's face.
Yeah.
This is not a good team. It's not a good program right now. I don't think Mike Woodson's a particularly good coach. I found it like he ended up bringing Mbako back in with like 2-3 minutes left in the first half, but his 2 best players both catch 2 fouls within the first 8 minutes. And
that's tough.
I'm going to do something, Ledman, that's going to be monumental to the media game. I am going to say I hate to talk about officials. I don't want to be the one to talk about officials. And then I'm actually not going to talk about officials for the next 25 minutes.
Fair enough.
So we're going to move on. They had 2 fouls. And unfortunately, I didn't know if you know this or not, Ledman. If you have 2 fouls, you're literally not allowed to physically go back on the court in the first half.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just not allowed to do it.
It's one of the rules they don't talk about a lot. Everyone knows it.
Right.
Everyone knows it, but it's never really mentioned. It's just understood. 2 fouls is an auto bench for the rest of the first half.
You have to stay there because no matter what, you want to make sure that when you're down 18 with 3 minutes left to go in the game, instead of being down 18 with 24 minutes left to go in the game, you want to make sure you have those guys there for those last 3 minutes to get that sensation of being pulled off the court for backups.
Yeah.
That's a growing experience that you need as a player.
It's also important to take those extra fouls that you have left at the end of the game and bank them for the next game.
Well, you can cash them in for brownie points.
Oh,
you get brownies.
That one I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love brownies, sweets, cookies, ice cream, whatever we've got. So I'll take those. So I understand why Mike Woodson would do that. But yeah, there's these coaches all around the country, not just Mike Woodson. Matt Painter does it as well. You saw it with Edie a few games ago when he got 2.
It's not auto bench though.
No, not auto bench. But I mean, there are so many coaches who are like that. It's like 2 fouls in the first half. Doesn't matter if there's 12 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 8 minutes left in the first half. I'm not going to see it for the rest of the half. You're on the bench.
Right.
And it just doesn't make sense.
And Painter's talked about his philosophy a little bit. Like, it's a lot of times you take them out with 2 fouls and you hope your team survives. Like, but if they can't, you bring them back in. Like, you have to. Like, if you go from, say, it being an 8-8 ball game to down 20, maybe you bring in your best players.
Yeah.
Maybe you do it. Maybe you're at
Yeah.
home and maybe you think it might be worth it if I played my two best guys against a team that has way more talent than we do. Um, just not an impressive IU team.
Well,
Uh,
you
just
you also have to trust your players at a certain
mhm.
point because people don't foul out very often in college basketball. I mean, sure it happens every now and then, but players know how to control themselves. Players know, hey, I've got 2 fouls, I got 3 fouls, I got 4 fouls, and they can kind of adjust accordingly. Sure, you might get targeted from the opponent with some more aggressive offense coming at you, but you've got to put trust in your players at some point because, especially if they're your two best players, you need them on the court and you got to figure out how to get them out there because without them, the game will get away from you, as you said.
Yeah, because what you want to do instead is to trust Xavier Johnson to come out onto the court. And
Yeah.
what a just what
Something
a
something in him
flagrant
broke.
just a flagrant person. Just as
Literally
a
flagrant
human,
on multiple
a
occasions.
flagranted human being.
I
I
do you remember in the off season when a bunch of IU bloggers and IU Twitter accounts were going after Braden Smith and comparing him to Xavier Johnson and saying there is not a single thing that Braden Smith does on the court that is better than Xavier Johnson.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like they didn't state it as in like a trash talking way. They stated it as in like, I can't believe someone would be so stupid as to believe that Braden Smith could be better than Xavier Johnson. And
That
you look back at this game, and Braden Smith did not have a great game as far as shooting the ball.
right.
That's undoubted. But Xavier Johnson, 20 minutes, 0 for 5, 3 fouls, 2 turnovers, 2 rebounds. Let's see, did he have any assists? He had no assists.
That
Whereas,
is
even though
eighth year leadership.
sixth year, in fairness to him,
Eighth year leadership.
Braden Smith played 36 minutes. Terrible shooting game for him, 2 for
Hmm?
14. You got to acknowledge that, but still had 6 rebounds, had 9 assists, and only 2 turnovers in 36 minutes. So you tell me which one of those guys you'd rather have on the floor.
Yeah. So there's like I don't know if you've ever created a player on NBA 2K.
I have
But
not.
like you can choose shooting forms, and there's like hundreds.
Okay.
And you get like up to like 185 up in that like and it starts to like devolve into this like old school ugly. It's right before the legends show up in their shooting form, and you just
Yes.
get to ththese like one-handed little
Shot footed.
and that's Xavier Johnson's jump shot.
Yeah, I don't know what
um
he did with that corner three. He
hmm,
missed, of course, but
yes he
I mean,
did, yes.
it was just like he's in the corner and almost like shot putted it, but then his arms
Mhm.
came off it funny. I did not, and maybe it was just me, but I felt that like that one looked different than the others.
Right.
But man, he did not look good.
No. um it's it's weird because like it is important for Purdue to have won this game. Um, the freshmen have not won an Assembly Hall. It'd been 3 years since Purdue had. Um, but frankly, this is the exact team that beat Purdue last year, minus an NBA top 20 pick and an All American Trace Jackson
It-
Davis.
well, yeah, then that's.
So it's not
I
the same
mean,
team.
there we go. Okay,
it's
woo,
it is a much worse squad than a team that probably
much
shouldn't have beat
worse.
them twice last year. Um, obviously they did and they earned those, but it's just that's a bad basketball team. The expectation now is Purdue needs to stomp them again by 30 at Mackey Arena.
Yeah.
Um, there's not more embarrassing losses ahead of Purdue possible on the schedule than when IU comes to Mackey Arena. And that is a weird place to get to within 1 year.
Yeah, and I mean, the line going into this game was like Purdue 9.5
Mhm.
or 10, and I thought that was kind of crazy. Not because I believe in IU, but because I have seen really good Purdue teams go in to face really
Right.
bad IU teams at Assembly Hall, and there's something about playing in that arena, something about playing in front of those fans that causes Purdue to get a little jittery, causes Purdue to make mistakes and really struggle. I mean, the one that comes to mind is when I think Purdue was about top 5 or so going in under when IU had Tom Crean as their coach. It was when they were still hit all by all the sanctions
Who would
from
have thought?
Simpson.
Those cream days, glory days for
The
IU.
glory
The
days of IU
glory days of
basketball.
cream.
Yeah. I
Just,
mean,
you miss them. You
probably
miss them
shouldn't have
all the
fired
time.
him.
Can we get a lifetime contract for Mike Woodson?
I
Can we dot that down, please?
I mean, I don't think that'd be
And
bad
he's
for
even
Purdue.
like record wise, even with Painter. So like IU fans should be like thrilled. He might still have
Yeah.
the edge, actually. What is it? Like 3-2 now?
Yeah, I think so.
So
I
yeah,
think so.
I think you gotta give him a few more years.
Yeah, just ink it
Let him
now.
keep trying.
One of the many problems
Mhm.
about IU basketball.
Do you think Mike Woodson knows the name of every player on his roster?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll dunk on Mike Woodson a lot, but I mean, I'm not sure that's the case.
Would you learn all of their names?
I mean, I would think I'm being
Hmm.
paid a few $1 million. I can remember,
Hmm.
15, 17 names depending on how
I
many
think if I was
walk-ons they
Mike
have.
Woodson, I wouldn't want to know their number or name, so I couldn't bring my bench into the game.
And no one but the starting, everybody in the
Just the
starting
starting
five.
five.
You're
Yep.
playing 40.
Yep.
I
I,
hope you're in good shape. We're gonna do a lot of running in the off season.
by the end of the year, you're going to be real tough.
Yeah,
Real
what
tough.
gonna lose a couple pounds a game just in sweat.
You're all going to
Um,
look like Fletcher Lawyer at the end of the year.
yeah. So I mean, overall, Purdue just jumps
Mhm.
out to a huge lead early. I mean, at the end of the first half, 51-29. So
That's a lot, right?
Purdue up
Okay.
22 going into halftime. And I mean, Zach Edey played a great first half.
He's okay.
Purdue shot the ball well from three.
Yep.
They moved the ball well.
They
There
did.
weren't very many things that they did
Mm-mm.
not do well
Didn't turn the
in
ball
the
over.
first half. Didn't turn
Made
the
free
ball
throws.
over. Yeah.
Um, you missed a lot of shots. We like that. Purdue
Yes, they
rebounded
did.
them. Yeah, it was like I think it's very clear, and I think it's not like a particularly observant point, but like when you have someone like Zach Edey, you really only need like one or two guys to go off around him.
Yeah.
And Purdue had Fletcher Lawyer, Lance Jones, Mason Gillis was good. Trey Kaufman-Renn was really good in the second half. Um, Ethan Morton was great in the second half. Camden
Yeah.
Heidi was again solid on defense. I think we both thought Purdue might need him a little more this game.
Hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, foul trouble in the first half limits the minutes of Mbako. Mbako's good. He's a big guy. He took advantage of Lawyer,
Yeah. He
kind of.
looked really good.
But what I think it was on this interview, like, did we trust IU to exploit a mismatch for a whole game?
Well,
Even if we did, we
that's my
shouldn't have.
thing. That's my thing. In years past, well, at least last year, when you're looking at Hood
Mhm.
Schifino, he absolutely took it to
Yeah,
Purdue,
just
and they
spammed it.
kept running. They kept
Mhm.
running the same thing over and over and over and over
Mhm.
and over again. And so you thought, at least I did, that if Woodson saw something that worked, he would just go back to it, and go back to it, and back to it until Painter figured out a way to stop it. And we've talked in the past on the show, Purdue has some liabilities on defense.
Mhm.
Some guys who, if they get caught in a bad switch,
Mhm.
they're gonna give up a bucket. So I thought, wrongly so, it turns out that IU would focus on those matchups,
Right.
find a way to isolate somebody like Lawyer, or even, um, you know, I mean, I guess Lawyer is the one that stands out on the defensive end, and get some buckets, get some buckets, get some buckets, but they just didn't do it. And I don't know why it didn't work, or why they didn't try, or if they just don't have that player who can make that move. But they just didn't do anything on offense.
I it, I think these rivalries should always have like something extra at stake. And I think in most rivalries, if a team wins by 20 at your place, I think the punishment should be you're not allowed to talk for until you don't lose by 20 at home.
Who is you in this? Is it the fans or is it
The
the team?
fans, the fans.
Oh, okay.
And I think we should all take that to heart. And to be fair, I definitely heard a lot. What you can't hear not, but like there was less IU on the Twitter than I'm used to seeing after a Purdue IU game.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like the way Illinois fans reacted to getting stomped by Purdue, all you could hear about, oh, they cut it to 3. Oh, we were right there. We were so close. Like there wasn't a lot of that. So I guess Are Illinois fans worse than IU fans? Is that what is that? Or is it just this
N-
was so dominant that not even they're
yeah,
going to
I
come
think
back
it's
next
that.
week, right?
Yes,
IU fans are
exactly.
just going to be
Exactly.
waiting. It's cold.
And
They might be
the
frozen.
the few things I did see from IU fans were, oh well, just wait till Edie's gone and we'll see what happens. It's like, okay, I mean, and somebody,
Weird.
somebody put this in response to a tweet like that, and it was basically, yes, just imagine Purdue without Matt Harms, without AJ Hammonds, without Caleb Swanigan, without, and they just went down the list and like, yeah, imagine if they lose a guy like that. And it's like, yeah, the same thing keeps happening. So um, I don't know. And of course the other thing, going after Edie and saying, oh, he's 3 seconds all the time, he gets babied by all the officials. And then the final one is always, oh, well, your guards aren't going to get you there in March. Or in desperation, they'll just send a picture of a peacock.
Ooh. The Peacock thing is like good. Like there's no, we don't like, there's no counter. It
Well,
does
yeah.
end the conversation.
But that
IU
just means they
fans, I
got nothing
mean,
left.
I don't think you should be able to talk smack about a team losing in the tournament if you don't make the tournament. I think that's another
True.
rule. I think there should be a lot of
Yeah.
fan rules.
A lot of maybe you could write a code.
can I write codes that take away the freedom of fans?
I think so. Yeah.
Fan dictator? I think that's my calling.
I think you would be a just and fair dictator.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
I
support
think it'd
you.
be great. Not any
Yeah.
real power, just I want to, make some guidelines.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lance Jones on the road, IU, one time at Assembly Hall.
First time ever, yeah.
Pretty good. Fletcher Lawyer, what,
Yeah.
4 for 4 for 3? That's solid.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah.
That's a bad matchup for him. That's a team that we thought was a bad matchup for him. He was fine. Great.
Oh yeah, he was great. 19
great.
points,
So
3 assists, 3 rebounds.
yeah, I think, and again, my first question to Painter after the game was about Ethan Morton and the bench coming in and like their minutes, because they really did stop the run that IU had to start the second half.
Yeah, and we should say, I mean, IU did get, from being down 22 to start the game in the second half, they got it down to 9, I think was the lowest they got in the second half. And then Purdue just kind of took that punch and slowly built the lead back up.
Which, to be fair and hit on both sides of the lines, if you do not text me or do not Twitter reply me, don't talk about how because 3 minutes into a half, an opponent goes on an 8-0 run. Do not say Purdue doesn't have a killer instinct.
Yeah.
They don't have it. They're not good at it.
Step on their necks.
Like, just shut up. 3 baskets. And it happened. On the road. Shocking that IU down 22 came out with a little bit of zest in their pocket.
Right.
Like, it's basketball. On the road, they never trail. They were never out by less than 9 in the second half. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And people are still complaining because of a 3-minute stretch.
Yeah.
Just stop, Purdue fans. Be better. Be who I know you can
enjoy
be.
it. Enjoy a little bit,
Find some joy in life.
Yeah. So anyway, you were saying about Ethan Morton and the bench?
Yeah, the bench was like really good. Ethan Morton in a span of like 2 minutes had a layup, an aggressive just to take the layup.
Yeah.
Got the goaltend, had a steal.
And
on a nice heads up play, and then had a block in transition on Mr. Behind his back, Xavier Johnson. Also, are we allowed to gloat about the karma of Xavier Johnson? The forearm shiver to Evie, with bravo to Edie not responding. Once again, just laughing off what was probably a legitimate shot. Like that could not have felt great.
No.
And then what happened later in the second half?
Took a hard screen because no one on his team yelled out screen.
Xavier Johnson met face to face with karma, and he ended up on the ground.
Yeah, and this was a perfectly legal screen. Edie did not, he was not wider than his shoulders or whatever they say. He was not, sticking his shoulder out. He didn't lean into it. Just stood there. But he happens to be 7'4", 300 pounds. And again, no one on Xavier Johnson's team was like, "Hey, screen coming." Maybe they don't like him.
Maybe they wanted him off the floor.
Well, I mean, sometimes maybe he's not your favorite guy on the team. You're like, I'm going to let him take this one. Maybe it'll get a message across to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was that diabolical. Just,
I don't either, but it'd
just
be
things
funny.
happen. But yeah, he needs some help, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so those are my two notes for two fans. I think bench production on the road, in the Big Ten, that is a really good sign for things to come.
Yeah.
I think that's, if you're talking about like, if you can lean on your bench on the road to stop a run and to like fix answers like problems in a game, that's a good sign. And I don't think there's many teams around the country that have that. And it's weird because just like Purdue's bench isn't flashy. It's not gonna be. Um, you can like your bench to have like point production, but what Matt Painter has on his bench is answers to different problems.
Yeah.
Ethan Morton's a defensive stopper. Camden Heide can stretch the floor and guard a tall guy. Um, Mason Gillis off the bench half the time is just a sharpshooter that instantly gets Purdue offense into good stuff. Trey, if he's coming off, Caleb First, big guy off the bench if you need some more athleticism. Painter has answers, and I thought he played around with his rotation and had some fives out there that he hasn't played very much this season. I thought they responded and played well, and I think that is the most encouraging sign going forward because I think if you look back to that tournament game and some of those games last year, it just seemed sometimes that Painter didn't have an answer when the first thing
Yeah.
wasn't working.
Yeah.
And he does this season. And I think a lot of that is growth by Fletcher and Braden. I think Lance Jones is a big reason why.
Oh yeah.
It's again
He has to
transition
be.
buckets. Just that my favorite possession of the game was a drive inside where a trap happened and Braden Smith comes flying in from the other side, deflects the pass up in the air. Then it gets pushed around and then perfect rotation. Lance Jones one-on-one gets the steal later. Like this team starting to show some of that connection on defense, starting to lock in a little more. I think I am flipped 100 from where I was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, about after Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's
Well, not
good.
even, yeah.
I think there are two plays for me that highlight what this Purdue team is capable of and why it's different than prior Purdue teams. One is Purdue had the ball on the IU side, and Smith, Lawyer, and Jones were all back there. And IU kind of sent a little bit of pressure, but it was just two quick passes. Lawyer and Jones moved to where they needed to be to get the ball. There was no problem at all. Purdue got it across half court without an issue. It's a play that you're not really going to see a replay of. You're not going to see in the score sheet. You're not going to see anywhere. But it was Purdue's ability to be able to not have any trouble with that added pressure that I think they would struggle with in years past. And then, of course, the one play that everybody loved was Zach Edey diving on the ground, up 18 to get a loose ball for an easy Lance Jones run out, which, oh, I was so hoping it was going to be a monster dunk by Lance Jones. I really thought he was going to posterize that guy, but
Yeah.
that guy from IU was just a step faster than Jones was at that moment. He had a better angle. But man, I thought he was going to posterize that guy.
Yeah, you got to consider like I think I'm going to ask him on Friday whether he knows about the posters and if that popped into his mind at all. He's not
I
a
mean, he
huge
did the
dunk.
smart thing. He did the
I
smart
know,
thing,
but
and and
glory
that's
only lives once.
and it's so fun because doing the smart thing with his shots is what you and I have asked of him,
That's true.
for a few weeks. And rather than going for the thunderous dunk that he might have missed, might have gotten fouled and had to go to the line, he went for the easy layup and made it, got Purdue 2 points, and all was good. So kudos to him for that. But I don't think enough. I don't think enough can be said about Zach Edey diving on the floor to get that loose ball. Whereas the IU guy, was it Mbako who was right in
Nah,
front
it
of him
was
there?
where. It was
Where? Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
where.
It just kind of bent over to try to get it, but obviously was not hustling. And Edey winds up with it. I mean, that's
To
just
be
it's
to be fair, as soon as you know that the 300 man is diving down,
well, sure.
I'm not putting my arm down there.
Yeah, that's
Like, I
fair.
think it's gonna snap like a twig. So you have a big boy. You already won the game. Let's go. Yeah, I think we should we'll take a little break here and then we will talk about what else happened around the Big Ten.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today.
And we are back. So as Casey said right before the break, there was a second Big Ten game yesterday. Just as important if you're a Purdue fan, this was Wisconsin at Penn State at the Bryce Jordan Center. Not exactly the most intimidating place to play. Kind of sparse in there. Micah Shrewsbury not there anymore. He is over at Notre Dame, so we don't really care. I do too. He was a great guy, great coach. Now he's out of the Big Ten though, so I feel better. So I never liked going up against him, but Wisconsin, of course, up until this point, had not lost a Big Ten game. They were Purdue's kind of thought of as number one rival for a shot at the Big Ten title this year. And they go into Penn State. And Casey, what happened?
I believe, if I am correct,
as you always are.
Yeah, they scored less points than Penn State. A Penn State team that Purdue just fondled.
Yeah.
Real hard. So another point to Purdue media, but Purdue Twitter that I'm way too tied into. You don't get to create narratives that all of a sudden, because Wisconsin's 5-0, that they're the favorites. They weren't the favorites in Vegas.
No.
They weren't the favorites with anyone who knows what's going on. And just like, they weren't the favorites because this was going to happen. They hadn't played anyone. They hadn't really gone on the road. Like, they have a couple nice home wins, but that is not a perfect Wisconsin team. They were also going to lose games. Right. And now Purdue stands one game behind with not that daunting of a Big Ten schedule. I would say these next two games are going to be two of the more interesting tests. Going to Iowa it's a road game. It's a road game on the Big Ten. Those are always the perilous things, but like, Purdue's already beaten Illinois.
And Purdue already beat Iowa at home.
They already beat IU on the road. I would still be shocked if Purdue does not win the Big Ten by 3 games.
So I understand what you're saying, especially with the, oh my gosh, Wisconsin has won their first 5 Big Ten games. This season is already over. Purdue's lost 2 on the road. What are we going to do? That's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a 20-game season, and you play who you play when you play them. And, Wisconsin had kind of an easier start to the Big Ten season. And you look at the rest of their schedule, and they've got a lot of games they could lose. They've got to play Purdue twice. They've got to go to Illinois. They've got to go. Let me see. I had it up a minute ago.
Well, they get IU at home. So that's terrifying, right? Real good IU team.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they got to go to Nebraska, then gets Purdue at home. They've got to go to Rutgers still. They've got to go. Mm-hmm. They've got to go to Iowa. They've got to go to IU. They finish the season. Where does Wisconsin finish the season? Mackey Arena?
I don't know. Why don't there Mackey you go? That could, if things progress and they don't lose any of these games, I mean, that could be a very important game in the Big Ten standings between those two teams.
Could also be absolutely meaningless.
Oh yeah, I mean, it could go either way, but I mean, they also, they have to play Michigan State. Granted, that one's at home. They play Illinois at home, so they could lose either of those games as well. I mean, just because a game is at home doesn't mean it's a guaranteed victory. And just because a team is maybe the better team, if you go on the road and play a team that's a little worse than you, that can still be a recipe for a loss, as you just saw with Wisconsin losing to Penn State. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah, Wisconsin's a good team. I think it's pretty clear they're the second best team in the Big Ten. It's just we got to have some awareness that the Big Ten is a one program conference right now.
Those are big words.
It's like IU is the premier third tier Big Ten team. In Wisconsin,
weren't they second tier in the last time we spoke?
Correct.
Okay, so you took them down a whole tier.
Correct.
All right. Well, seeing them in person will do that. You got more data. I understand. Casey, you're nothing if not a scientist. More data comes in, you'll change your priors.
Very convincing study down in Bloomington this week. Yeah. But Wisconsin leads a small band of tryhard teams that are going to battle it out real good for the second place in the Big Ten. It's leaps and bounds. Purdue is leaps and bounds better than everyone else in the Big Ten.
Well, I mean, I think the hard part for people to see, and I'm going to play devil's advocate for you here.
They were down 2 and still minus 300 favorites in the Big Ten. They kept losing in the Big Ten, and their odds got better to win the Big Ten.
Yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Listen. Purdue right now, 2 losses in the Big Ten. Wisconsin right now, 1 loss in the Big Ten. Purdue and Wisconsin play each other twice.
Right.
Assuming they split.
Not going to assume that.
For this argument, we are assuming that.
Okay.
So then that means Purdue has 3 losses, Wisconsin has 2. That means if you want to win the Big Ten outright, you got to have Wisconsin lose 2 more games. And for the average person who's looking at these games and say, well, they haven't lost any so far, they're a quarter of the way through the season, what's to say they're going to lose, 2, 3, 4 more? I mean, what do you say to an argument like that they've played good so far?
Who am I arguing for losing more? Purdue or Wisconsin?
No, Wisconsin.
They're not their defense isn't that great. They're kind of getting by against bad offensive teams in the Big Ten. I would be that Nebraska team on the road.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
That's a tough game. Michigan State is playing better. Granted, they've already beat them at Michigan State. I don't know what to make of that Michigan State team.
Yeah, well, that was still in the early days of this Michigan State team, where they were still God only knows what they were doing.
Yeah, so the Big Ten's not good. Maybe 3 games is too much to hope for now at Purdue, because I don't know if Wisconsin has that many losses in them.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
But if you're telling me now, it's just a matter of I literally think Purdue is, first of all, going to sweep Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin matches up well. We didn't touch on this in the game, but I feel like it. Am I going crazy here, Ledman? But is part of the reason why Purdue keeps knocking off top 20 and top 10 teams, because any team that tries to play Purdue like a normal game, they just get killed, because you can't treat Edey like a normal person. And you can't let this offense operate under normal conditions, because you're not going to be better than them. Well, and so when you believe in yourself as a team, you're going to play your game, and then that's a basketball game, and you're going to lose because you're not as good at it as Edey is.
Well, it's like what Painter said in his post game, and he said it a number of times, is, when you play against a guy like Zach Edey for the first time, it takes you the whole game to realize what you can do against him, because you can practice any different way every day for a week, 2 weeks leading up to the game. But until you're there, you can't replicate Zach Edey in practice. He's 7'4", 300 pounds. You don't have anybody you can throw in practice and say, all right, you're Zach Edey. Go ahead and play like him so we can prepare. You can't do it. So if Purdue is allowed to play their game, play their style of play, it is incredibly difficult for them to get beat. It's just a matter of Purdue being able to play their game and not get sucked into kind of what happened against Nebraska, where they didn't control the game. They let Nebraska control it. And then suddenly Edey's on the bench. They're not playing their best. And you get into the situation where your opponent shoots 60% from three.
Yeah, but I think it kind of takes a lack of ego to completely alter your team going into a game. And I think that's what you have to do against Purdue. So when you're a 16 seed, you have nothing to lose. So like, of course, you're just going to build a game plan just for Purdue. But a lot of these, like when Duke goes up against Purdue, they're not thinking, we got to change who we are. They're thinking, we're Duke. We saw it with Arizona. They're like, we're a drop coverage team. So we're going to play drop coverage on pick and roll. Holy cow, Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyers just destroyed us. And I think that's why little teams that are just, they know they have to do crazy shit to win. That's how they beat them. Also, I'm just going to say, I don't think Purdue loses for the rest of the regular season.
Oh, that's tough.
I just don't. I don't see it.
I mean, anytime you go on the road in the Big Ten is tough. And when I don't know. I mean, I can't pinpoint a specific game and say that's going to be a loss, but
on the road, Wisconsin, February 4th. On the road, Ohio State, February 18th. On the road, Illinois, March 5th. I think you look at those three games and probably this Iowa game Saturday. And you probably got to give Northwestern a little bit of credit. They come into Mackey. They've always played Purdue the best. I guess I don't see it as a big deal to say that now, even though like it's unlikely. But like I'm not Ken Palm. I'm not playing probabilities. All I know is every time before we talk about a game, I'm going to say, hey, there's no logical way that I can say that I think Purdue's going to lose.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think looking ahead, I think Purdue's probably favored in about every game, if not every game going forward.
They are.
But things happen, flukes happen. As we saw in Nebraska, a team shoots out of their mind. Something goes wrong on Purdue's end on defense, or somebody gets in foul trouble that causes problems. Somebody has a bad game.
I'm gonna call this now. People are gonna freak out because they're gonna be like, Purdue's won way too many games coming into the tournament.
Oh yeah. Fans will find any reason to be worried. They're like, well, I'd rather lose, the last game of the season and then, going on a 20-game win streak into the tournament.
Yep.
That's so much pressure. But like the tournament is pressure every year. I don't care if you're on a 10-game win streak, a 20-game win streak, haven't lost all season, or you've lost your last 3 going in.
Yep.
It's all pressure. You got to learn to deal with it.
Under pressure.
Exactly. Don't sing any more of that. We don't have the money for the rights.
Oh, okay. Fair enough, lawyer.
Yeah. So, I mean, the rest of the Big Ten season now, I think it for sure still is Purdue's to take. But do you, as someone who, has a vested interest in Purdue winning the Big Ten, do you root for IU this coming Friday when they play Wisconsin?
Absolutely.
Because, so you do think
I am not intimidated in any capacity by IU. I want them to feel as happy as possible. They're like 4. Look, do I take some schadenfreude about IU not making the tournament? Maybe.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do without a doubt.
Yeah. Do I love that when I'm talking to Trey Kaufman this week, he calls Purdue a blue blood and he's like, I kind of knew that Bob Knight was the thing. I love that. Matt Painter is the coach in Indiana, and that's who kids grow up wanting to play for now.
Yeah.
Definitely not Mike Woodson.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's not a Woodson vibe. So I love that. Is it a little sad that Purdue goes into Assembly Hall and there's no drama and it's a 21-point lead win? No, it's
No.
not sad at all, Edmund. I love it.
There we go.
It was phenomenal.
I was so
am
prepared to
so
argue the
annoyed by
exact
IU
opposite.
fans.
I was about ready to jump on you and be like, oh, whoa.
It was
Yeah,
absolutely great.
I've never understood the argument people make of like, I just want the rivalry to be good. You know, I want the games to matter. I want them to be close and back and forth. No, I don't. I want IU to lose 30 games a season, and I'll take great joy in that.
Yeah,
I will take great joy in every single loss they make to every single team.
I want Purdue to go in to that final game with Wisconsin coming into Mackey, having locked up the Big Ten title 3 games beforehand. I want Matt Painter to play Camden Heide and Miles Colvin 24 minutes that game.
Perfect.
I want him to let the bench roll. I want him to get everyone feeling good going into the Big Ten tournament. That's what I want.
I agree. So there you go, folks. That's how the Big Ten's going to go. That's how the Big Ten's going to go. What was your thought there? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, and then I just got annoyed that the Big Ten tournament's in Minnesota.
Yeah, that is strange.
So then we got to go up all the way up into the North Tundra.
March. And I mean, I was going to say in March. So you just never know what you're going to get.
Can we sign I guess California counts, but we couldn't have got like a Florida school somewhere down north, like south?
Well, you know, Florida State pretty unhappy with their situation, but I'm not sure we want to take them.
Seminole.
There you go. Just send them a letter that just says that. Seminoles? ? Seminole. Sincerely, Big Ten Conference.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So that's it, folks. Purdue, dominant victory over IU. We love to see it. Big Ten race, a little more competitive now with 1 Wisconsin loss. We're going to keep seeing them lose, I believe. We got 2 games against them going forward. We finish the season at home against Wisconsin. Could be a pretty important game. Casey says no. We'll see. Till next time, folks. Part of the Field of 68. Make sure to like, rate, review, subscribe. Do all the things. Share with your friends. There are balloons on the screen now on Casey's side. Apparently, he's got the video effects on because he did a thumbs up earlier, and it gave a bubble thumbs up.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's happened twice to you now. So
okay.
There you go, folks. If you're not watching this on video, you're missing all the fun. We'll see you next